Hey friends, welcome to the Friday check-in with Happily Even After Betrayal and life coach Jen. I'm so glad you're here. So this week I want to talk to you about my podcast. My podcast was called Limerence Explains Why They Could Not Stop the Affair. And I think this is something important to understand, especially if you are the person that was betrayed and the experience of limerence. What limerence is, it's an emotion, right? And they say that it is like someone that is on like cocaine or heroin or meth. And so I've never personally tried any of those, and nor do I know any family members that have, at least that I know of. They didn't tell me if they did, but it's very intense. And we know this from movies, or maybe you have this personal experience, but someone that is on a drug will do anything and everything to get that drug. And this is what an affair is like. And so that intensity is why they don't care what you think, right? Or the kids, all the things they're losing when they choose this, it feels so devastating. And as the person that's been betrayed, you think, how could they make this decision? But that is why I want you to understand this and why I'm talking about it. And I think we get it confused because they, of course, are saying, "But I love them." It's not love. Limerence is fueled by uncertainty and fantasy. It is a fantasy. Your relationship, your marriage, that is reality. And we all know reality is hard sometimes. We have responsibility attached to that. But true love is intimacy, right? Is creating our emotional and physical intimacy a security. We feel very secure if we're in true love. And it's a mutual and stable affection towards each other. It feels very safe. And that's what the love that we want, right? That is not limerence. So check it out. If you like my podcast, I would always love for you to write me a review and share it with your family and friends, because that helps people find me. And I'm so glad you're listening to it if you are. And if you aren't, go check it out. I hope you like it. I have over 200 episodes for you to listen to. Anyways, now for the news. So I think my kids know that I do this. And so they always, every now and again, say, "Hey mom, did you hear about Megan Thee Stallion?" Which I hadn't heard about, but apparently her and I think her boyfriend, they weren't married because they just said they broke up. And I feel like they would say something different if they were married. So she was in a relationship with Clay Thompson, who plays for the Dallas Mavericks. And Megan Thee Stallion, if you don't know, is a songwriter and rapper. And I just always like to share these in the news famous people, because affairs are happening everywhere. And just because we are just normal humans, people that have a lot of power, money, beauty, they are also experiencing this. It's something that humans sadly experience. And so if your brain is telling you, if I made more money or if I looked different, it's not true. Affairs can happen no matter any of those circumstances. Anyway, so that's the person in the news. Sadly, I'm sure there's more. And some of you might be here because you just recently found out. And for that, I am so sorry. But just know that healing's possible. Now, some thoughts I had about coaching this week. Oftentimes, some of us, we repress our feelings and emotions and memories, and we might remember something that happened 20, 30 years ago. It happens often. And just remember, trauma doesn't know, did it happen yesterday or did it happen 30 years ago? So if it feels alarming to you, like why all of a sudden do I feel this intense pain and emotion for something that happened decades ago? It's because there's some trauma in that and some emotions that haven't been felt or processed correctly. And so if this is you, just know this does happen. You aren't crazy. You are okay, and you can heal. And I hope you do, because just time alone clearly does not make this feeling go away. So you definitely need to learn the right tools and figure out how you can process this through your body. And you totally can. The last thing I'm going to just share with a little bit about me. I had the opportunity to go to my cousin's funeral, and I don't really love funerals, but the thing I do love about funerals is oftentimes, especially when it's family, you get to see family that you haven't seen in a very long time. I wasn't necessarily close to this cousin. I was about a decade older than him. He lived in Idaho growing up. I lived in Colorado. We, of course, would see each other at family reunions, but of course, I was the much older girl cousin, and he was this little guy, more the age of my youngest brother. And so we didn't have a lot in common. But recently, a few years ago, I took my parents on an Alaskan cruise with my mom's siblings, and him and his wife also went with his mom. And so it's really great. I'm really glad that I got to connect with him and get to know him a little bit as he was older. And he had cancer. And so unfortunately, I can't even pronounce the cancer that he had. He went quickly, and which is probably both sides of the coin, right? Sad and good, because he was in a lot of pain. Anyways, so I just think sometimes some of us, we have these really horrible, painful things. And I'm just going to say betrayal is one of the most painful things I've ever experienced. And I have experienced my brother dying and of course my grandparents, but that wasn't as traumatic as my brother dying. But healing from betrayal definitely has been the most challenging and most painful thing I have experienced. And so that being said, there's also a lot of beauty in it that I have found. And I was talking to one of my clients today. I told him I call them glimmers of hope. And those little glimmers, I think, help us get through the hard. And we need to focus on those just as much as we're focusing on the negative, because that is going to get us through. And for me, it's been my kids. It has been how I've grown and become a version of myself that I really love and am confident, and I love helping other people. And so it's been a beautiful journey for me in my pain, being able to help other people heal from theirs. And so regardless if that is hard for you or not, but just, I think focusing on the moments, just like going to that funeral, it was hard. However, there was some beautiful moments in it, and hearing these people talk about my cousin, some of his friends, and share some stories, I felt so connected. Reflection on what do I want people to say about me, and am I living up to that version of me that I want to be? And so I think it's just some good self-reflection. Anyways, lastly, the next 2 weeks I have a Stop Suffering reset happening. So if you've ever been curious about coaching, or if you're like, I thought I could get over this and my therapist has been really helpful, but I think maybe trying a coach would be helpful, especially a coach that has also experienced betrayal. All of our stories are different, but yet they're the same. And if you want to try it, this would be a great opportunity for you to try some coaching and see if it can be helpful for you. For me, it changed my life. And so I know it does help you if you're willing to put in the work and put in the practice and be able to know, hey, I want to stop suffering. I'm ready to let go of the suffering and move on and heal. Anyways, have a beautiful week, and I will see you next Friday.